we're going to start out. The very first, 20 and 20 minutes, 11:04, I have until 11:24. Somebody make sure that I'm doing this right. I want to know whether I win the prize when I get done, and I've done it all within 20 minutes. So 11:04, let's just say it's 11:05, because by the time I get done babbling about how much time I have, we will be into the first feature. So quick launch. That's this thing right here, and this whole panel, okay? Now, you didn't have this before, okay? So you had to kind of figure out which icon to press and where you'd find the more icons or which menu item to press. All gone. Well, not all gone. You still have the icons. Some people like them. And you still have the menus. But if you don't want to find something and it's not already in your pinned actions, which you can set, or it's not in your recent actions, you just type it here. So you can get to things quickly. You can pin things open so that you can always get to them quickly. It will show you the most recent things you've done. And you can even pin and see your recent matters, which will take you right back to the matter manager for that matter. Very cool. Next thing. Tabbed interface. That's this up here, okay? But we also have the ability to split the screen. I don't know if you noticed that, but the animation just showed the screen splitting. And so we've got one screen that's got the fee tab, and now we've moved the matter manager over. So instead of having to use this window button, which most people didn't even know about, to switch between things that are running within the program, you see it all here. Okay, you see all the tabs. You can even split the screen, so you've got one set of tabs over here and one set of tabs over here, and you always know what you're switching between. So you can have multiple things open, and you can switch between them with a great deal of ease, just like you would in a browser. Okay, next thing is going to be the theme settings. For those of you that don't like this new quick launch and this new tabbed interface, and you just want it to be back to normal, all you have to do is come in here and set it to the classic theme. Now, when this first came out, because this tabbed interface came and the quick launch, it all came out in version 19. And when it first came out, I had my guesses as to who wouldn't like it, and none of those people didn't like it. Everybody that I thought wouldn't like it loved it. So I know of a couple people that have switched back to the classic theme as opposed to the standard new theme, but not many. And they were surprises to me. They weren't the people that I would have expected to. I'm one of those that doesn't like change, so I suppose I didn't expect myself to like it. Store the payment method at the client level. We're going to talk about a few things from LawPay. LawPay is the new integration in version 2020. ProPay integration is still there, but just between you and me, not many people really like ProPay. The number one reason people don't like ProPay is going to be in the last slide about ProPay, or about LawPay integration. But one thing that's really cool about LawPay integration, it's just another payment method, another payment processor, is that you store the payment method at the client level, not the matter level. Let me just back up and explain. If a client has 14 matters and they give you a credit card to pay 2 of them, because those are the only 2 that are due this month, then what's going to happen is you're going to put that credit card information in for the one matter and process the payment, and then you're going to go put the credit card information in for the other matter and process the payment, even though that's identical credit card information. Next month, he sends you, he says, go ahead and use that credit card to pay for the other 3 matters that weren't billed last month, but now they're being billed this month. You got to enter that credit card information 3 more times. And the problem is, he assumes you have it, but you've thrown it away because you're not really allowed to keep that stuff in a written form. And now you got to call him back and say, well, I'm sorry, I don't have that credit card information and I can't transfer it from the other matter. In LawPay, you set the payment method up at the client level, and then you use it on whatever matters you want. And so therefore, that one credit card, bit of credit card information will be entered here at the client level, and doesn't matter how many he's paying this month, how many he's paying next month, whether he paid the next month ones the previous month, you always have access to that credit card information. You only have to enter once. Better speed up here. I got a little bit behind on that one. I talked too much. You can have a place absent the regular link that would show up in an emailed statement. That link is just one that's always been there for ProPay. You can also, with LawPay, have a place to just send them to make a generic payment where they type in the amount. To back up, we have always, with the ProPay and with the new LawPay integration, had the ability in emailed statements to include a link that the customer just clicks on. It connects them to their invoice and lets them pay that exact amount without having to type it in, and with the credit card information they've already stored. But additionally, LawPay gives you these separate pages that you can simply provide a link to, their web pages, where a client can go, and they're branded, and they can have your logo. We don't have ours, but they're branded, and you can direct the client to that page to simply pay an amount that they want to pay that they get to decide. ProPay had this. Not many people knew it. You had to pay $400. They said that was to set it up with your logo, but if you wanted to set it up without your logo, you still paid the $400. So LawPay just has this. You just get it. You sign up for LawPay, and you've got this page. You don't need to ask them to set it up. You don't need to ask them to put your logo on it, and you certainly don't need to pay $400 for that. Next thing, LawPay has phone and email support. This is the big thing that people have a problem with ProPay. ProPay is impossible to deal with if you have a problem. The solution works, the integration works, but if you have a problem, you can't talk to anybody. You can at LawPay. And even if you email ProPay, a lot of times you still won't get your problem solved. Certainly not in an expedient manner, but maybe not at all. Give you an example. Somebody emailed me and said, I have tried to let ProPay know that they sent me the wrong tax form, because the credit card processors report something on a tax form and they send it to all their people that are processing through them. And I've been trying to get this solved. Can you give me the name of somebody who I can talk to that can solve this problem? I did, but that illustrates the point that it's very difficult to talk to ProPay. We had a problem with a transaction that for some reason was coming through as a credit card from China. I don't know where this law firm got this credit card, but that's a whole different story. I emailed and said, why are these people getting this error message? I had a screenshot. Within 5 minutes, I had an email back that said, here's why you're not set up to accept credit cards from China. That's where that credit card came from. And I have changed your account so that you can now tell them they can go ahead and process that within 5 minutes. So that's huge. The phone and email support is just huge. And they have a really, really nice dashboard. This is an example of it. If any of you are on ProPay, you'll know that their dashboard is not nearly as functional. It's not nearly as pretty. It doesn't give you as much information, and it doesn't provide the same level of functionality that you have here with LawPay. So enough about LawPay, I think. Let's see here. Why am I not going on? There we go. You can now automatically use your trust balance when you print bills. In other words, in the old system, and I think this actually came in version 18, don't quote me on that, it might have come in on 17, but I think it came in on 18 or 19. Actually, I'm sorry, it came in on 19. I'm one version behind too, obviously. You would, when you printed bills and people owed you money and they had money in trust, you had to then go manually make those transfers. You had to go say, okay, pay this bill this much, pay this bill this much, pay this bill this much, and you did that manually. Now with the newest updates, and I do believe this came in version 19, you can set it up as to what the default will be for a matter, and that's what you're seeing here. But then all matters will default to have all or just fees or just expenses or just advances, and whether or not we're paying the current work and the AR or just the AR, because some states don't let you collect trust money until you build it. So that would be the AR only. And then you can change this on a matter by matter basis. So you might have 24 people that have money in trust, and only 12 of them get it automatically applied The other 12, you still go in and manually apply. It's entirely up to you. It's on a matter-by-matter basis. It could be on a client-by-client basis, therefore, and you can set up how you want it to default. So if you always want to automatically pay from trust, you set it up this way, and every matter will default to that, and there you go. Easily apply payments to multiple matters. This wasn't new in 2020. I think it's new in version 18, actually, maybe version 19. And what that means is we always had the ability to split up a payment between matters, but what you ended up doing was going to the first matter and applying, paying it all, and then it would say you have more left. What do you want to do? Apply to another matter. Or you could use the old apply to multiple matters, but what it would do is it would just prorate the amount to apply without you giving any control over how it did it. Now what it does is it does that, but then it lets you change the application. You might say, oh, no, we actually don't want to apply any to this invoice, but we do because it's from 16 and they're contesting it, and we're going to leave it alone, whatever the case may be. And we're going to apply this amount to this and this. You have complete control over that. Didn't used to have it. It would do it, but you just didn't have the ability to reallocate. Replicate fee entries, this is huge. We've always been able to well, no, I'm sorry, replicate fee entries is new. We also, and I don't think we have a slide for it, so I'm going to say we also have the ability now on a transaction level in both Tabs and PracticeMaster to simply move a fee entry. If you enter a fee entry and you look and you go, oh, I got that on the wrong matter, you can simply go in and there will now be a button to move it. There is also now a button to replicate. What that means is if you've got the same transaction that you're entering for six different matters, it's going to be 0.2 of an hour, same description, same everything, same timekeeper. You hit the replicate button and identify the new account, the new matter, the new client matter that you're applying it to, and it's replicated. And then you just keep going on if you're going to do it multiple times. Write down fees across matters. This used to be a little difficult. You had to kind of do it individually. Right now, you can, in the latest version, you can go in and apply a write down to multiple matters, or all matters, I should say, as opposed to doing it one by one. That's how you used to have to do it, one by one. So if a client had 12 matters and the whole bill for all 12 matters equals 10,000, and you wanted to equal 8,000, you would have to go in the old version and individually allocate that, whereas in the new, you simply say include all matters and what do you want it to be, and it will make the adjustments to each individual matter. Import bank transactions. People have been asking for this forever. This is one that came in, I believe, in 18 and then was also added to trust in 19. Again, don't quote me on that. When these things come in, it sometimes gets to be a blur for me. And so as you can see, what you end up with is the ability to, once you've imported them, see which ones match up automatically, like this, and also see the tab of which ones are unmatched, and simply say, oh yeah, okay, that's that, that's that, that's that, and you make the transactions right there. So bottom line, when you go to reconcile, you import your bank transactions, it matches up the ones it can, you create new transactions for the ones that can't, and you're done, much quicker than when you had to manually compare that, that bank statement against your reconciliation. Trust and AP now have a positive pay feature. I think this is brand new in 2020. Again, don't quote me on that. But the positive pay feature is something that a lot of banks have been starting to force people to do, either when they sign up for a new account, or in some instances, I've seen firms forced into this simply because they have so much fraud. But this is you sending something to the bank when you cut checks that says, these are the checks I cut, this is the amount, this is who it was to, this is the check number, and the bank will only pay those checks. We've been doing custom reports for this for a long time because maybe it was 5 or 6 years ago that they started doing this, the banks did, but they've just added this to Tabs, so now the need to pay us to do a custom report is gone. It's there automatically for trust and AP. Platinum feature, this is only for Platinum, but it's huge, accounts receivable by working timekeeper. If you're familiar with this problem, you know that in the past we've allowed accounts receivable reports. We have all sorts of them, but they were printed by either primary, secondary, or originating, which is great. Here's all your clients and how much they owe. Here's all your clients and how much they owe. Or here's all the business you originated and how much they still owe. And here's all the business you originated and how much they still owe. So that's cool. But if a client had an AR balance of $1,000 and it was for Bob, he was the primary timekeeper, but it was Joe and Mary that did the work, let's say $500 each. In the old print by primary timekeeper, all 1,000 of that would show up under Bob. I think I said Bob was the one who was primary, but he didn't do any work, would show up under him. Now we have the ability to also print AR by working timekeeper, which would mean that on Joe's, he did $500 worth of work, so he would show that this matter owes $500 that's overdue. And I believe I said Sally was the other timekeeper that had $500. She would show $500 on hers. Who did the work that's not being paid for as opposed to whose matter was it? Been having a lot of people ask for that for a long time, and this is them doing it. We have dashboards. We've had the recap dashboard for a little while. That's not what this is, where an attorney will see his or her time in a nice dashboard sort of graphical format. But now we have dashboards across all the products. This is an example of the Tabs dashboard showing AR, WIP, cash receipts, and billing history. People always ask, does everybody have to see this? No, these are set up in access controls. So only the people, if you have people that go into Tabs to enter their time, but you don't want them to see these dashboards, you just turn that off for that group of people, and that won't happen. They won't be able to see that. GL Accounts Balance shows, we have an extra A in there. I didn't notice when we were doing these slides. GL Account Balance shows when adding invoices and printing checks. In other words, for your bank accounts where the balance has always been maintained in general ledger, now when you're in AP, and this is also applicable in trust, if you have the right to see it when you're adding invoices or printing checks, you can see what your available balance is in the account. It doesn't have to show. Again, this is another one of those things that's protected with access rights. So if you don't have people, if you have people that are entering transactions, entering invoices to pay, but you don't want them to see what your bank balance is, you just turn that access off for that group of people, and they won't see this. But it's really nice when you're the person that needs to know how many checks you can cut to know how much money is in the bank account right now, because it may be different than what you're thinking. Calendar records now have an all-day event checkbox. This I know is new in 2020. And so what that means is down here you have this all-day event, and when you check that, it automatically defaults to 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. You've always been able to do this, but you did it by typing in 12 a.m. and 11:59, and that created what PracticeMaster considered an all-day event. Now there's a checkbox that when checked will fill them in and make them so they can't be changed unless you uncheck the box. Like, just a convenience, but for many people a huge convenience. Miscellaneous lines from client ledger, from the client file, now display in the matter manager. So we've always had MIS1, MIS2, MIS3. Those are your miscellaneous fields, but anybody that's used Tabs or PracticeMaster knows about those fields. They show up on the bill. They've been in Tabs forever. Now they also show up on the Matter Manager, because a lot of people were saying, well, those hold valuable information that our attorneys need to see in the Matter Manager, and so they've simply put those fields in there. Did I miss one? No, I didn't. Access search settings while others are in the software. We don't really have a picture of this because it's not something that is really all that exciting to show. While you are having people working in PracticeMaster, working in Tabs, working in AP, GL, and Trust, you can now go into the search settings in PracticeMaster, and you can actually re-index everything except for the conflict, and you can see the settings and change them without having to kick people out. It used to be that just to get in there, which is where you happen to go to do the certain reindexes that do need to have people kicked out. Just to get in there, you had to kick people out. Now you don't have to kick them out until you actually do one of those reindexes that requires them to be out. So what that means is that you can do certain maintenance work while people remain in the software, and you can also see what your settings are set to and change them if appropriate. You just can't do certain reindexes just as you never have been able to, but now it's only those things that are locked down. And finally, and this isn't really there yet, so I know this is coming in 2020. I saw it in New York 2 weeks ago when Brian, who is one of the product managers for Tabs, had it on his phone because we were in New York and STI or Tabs3 software is in Lincoln, Nebraska. So he had this new feature enabled on his PracticeMaster and on his phone. He was using a beta copy that they're testing. And so when he put his appointment in for something that was going to happen in New York, he put it in at Lincoln time. And when he got to New York, it switched. Has anybody knows that's either traveled and put appointments in PracticeMaster or has a firm that has multiple offices that span time zones up until this is released, and it's currently in a beta test mode and should be out in a couple of weeks, you would have to put those in at the time of where the office is. Even if you're in New York and the office is in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you're in New York right now and you want to set up an appointment for 4 p.m. New York time, if you're going to put it in PracticeMaster, you have to put it in at 3 p.m. because that's what the equivalent time is in Lincoln. Once this feature is released, that won't be a problem. And it just clicked over to 11:26. So apparently I didn't make it, but who cares? We spent an extra 4 seconds going over that last feature in a little bit of extra detail. I think it was worth it. How do you update? You can talk to me. You can request an estimate. It might not cost you anything. It's very likely that if you're on maintenance, it's very likely that you're on maintenance. And if you are, then the update's free. Now, we might charge to install it if you need our help installing it, but that's a nominal cost, and some firms don't need our help. So if it does cost, we'll get you an estimate. If it doesn't, we'll simply tell you that. You'll be getting a follow-up email if you've registered for this webinar. If you happen to be watching it online and you didn't really register for it, all you need to do is call me and email me, and we will take care of you. And that's that. So version 2020, the very latest version, it will be out and getting improved upon with things like these time zone changes until we are to the end of the year when we release 2021. So by all means, get on version 2020 right now. Get ready to get any enhancements they come out with. And once you get on 2020, it's very easy to keep updating the software and keep getting to the new versions without a lot of hassle. That's it. Everybody have a good rest of the day, a good rest of the month, and let me know if you'd like more information about version 2020 updates. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.